Good evening, you all. Thank you for tuning in to Tea and Talk True Crimes with myself, Ellis Wilson, aka Amputee Beauty. I created this platform for survivors of domestic violence and gun violence, being that I myself was a victim of domestic gun violence on February 12th of 2019, which I will get into my story in just a few moments as much as I can due to the fact that the case is still active and ongoing. My goal is for this platform to be a place where victims can come and share their stories to the world so people can understand the impact that domestic violence and gun violence has on the victims, so we can try to break this cycle. Criminal domestic violence and gun violence is at an all-time high and has doubled since the COVID pandemic. This is an issue that needs to be discussed as well as resolved as much as possible. If you know anyone or yourself may be a victim of domestic violence or gun violence and would like to share their story, you may arrange to do so on my Facebook page, A Golden Dream Foundation, or via phone at 803 620 4053. After this brief break, we will get into my story of survival. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back, and thank you guys for tuning back in with me. So, I did tell you guys that I would get into my story once we came back on, and so now it's time for story time. My name is LaQuata Wilson. I'm a native of York County, which I'm from the city of Rock Hill in York County, South Carolina. I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 in 4 days. Yay. I have two daughters, ages 11 and ages 19. There are certain things that I cannot speak about due to the case being active and ongoing. But once everything is over, I will definitely come back and give you guys an update of the trial, at the sentencing, and everything else that's going on with my case. So let's just jump right into it. February 12th of 2019, I awoke that morning, prepared to go lay my uncle to rest because he had previously passed. And 2 weeks before that, January 22nd, my father passed. So, me and my family, we were going through a lot. So I woke up that day to go put my uncle on the ground. And I got up, I did a few things, walked around the house, cleaned up. Nothing out the norm, my usual routine. So I received a knock at my door, and it was a ex-boyfriend. And just to rewind back before I get into my story, this ex-boyfriend, his name was Marquise Heath. You can feel more than free to look him up, but it will be a picture that pop up while I'm talking to show who the perpetrator is. We hadn't, at the time that I got shot, we weren't anything like that. I hadn't been dealing with him in like quite some time, and he had a baby on the way and a girlfriend, which those two ladies are also victims. So I will get into that also. Okay, so back to me opening the door. I opened the door. He looked normal, nothing at the norm. I was kind of confused as to why he was there because I hadn't seen him in a while. He comes to the door, opens the door. Um, we say a few things, and then he goes back to the car. And I sit down in my living room on my couch. And in later episodes, once I can do everything, I'll go through and I'll show the house and where I was standing and how everything went. And so when he came back in the house, he had a shotgun. And at that point, his whole demeanor was different from the time he left my door and went back to his car. It just looked like evil, like just pure evil. And so at this point, I know something is going to happen to me. What, I don't know. But I kind of figured I'm finna get shot. I'm finna lose my life today. So I stand up and just off instinct, I block my face. And I heard a first shot. And it was like a white light. I heard a loud ringing. And at this point, I knew something happened, but it still hadn't dawned on me that I was shot. And so I managed to get behind a chair, a one-seater chair in my house, in my living room. And I had three chairs or a sofa, a love seat, and a single chair. So I got behind the single chair, and I basically just watched as he shot me 3 more times. So I was shot 4 times with a shotgun. One was to the face, which resulted in me having my left hand amputated from me trying to block my face. I got shot in the side. And I think it was actually he tried to shoot me in the face again. And once I showed up photos from the crime scene, it was 2 shots from when I was standing up. So I think the fourth one, I got buckshots from that one. I don't think it actually would have just hit me. And the last 2 shots were when I was on the ground. And so basically, I played dead, and it's like 1,000 things that run through your mind. Am I going to die? I don't want to die like this. Just my kids, my family. I started praying real heavily. I just, survival just like literally kicks in. And so once he went out the door, he closed the door, and the car that he was in, it had like a loud motor. So I laid there until I heard the car pull off. I laid there a few more minutes after that because I was scared because I didn't know if he was going to come back in or not. And so once I laid there and I figured out like you're not dying, it's a chance of survival. I crawled to the door. Um, at this point, I seen my injuries, but it was like I was in a euphoric state or something like that. So I really wasn't paying attention to the extent of the injuries. So I made it outside. My neighbor was in my yard, and she was already on the phone with 911. And I just sat out there, and I remember how the sky looked. I could smell rain. It was a very, very gloomy day. And in the mid time that I'm waiting on the police and the ambulance to get there, it actually started to drizzle. So I was looking at that as well. Then I looked down and noticed that, oh my God, my intestines are out. So once the cop came, I told him, I think I've held on as long as I can. Just tell my babies and my mother and my siblings that I love them. And like maybe 5 minutes seems like 5 hours when you're in a situation like that. So the ambulance finally gets there, and I get up and I actually walk to the ambulance, and I was like, I need help. And that's the last thing that I remember from that. I remember actually walking to the ambulance and getting myself on the gurney, and I had my hand over my stomach, covering my intestines. So that day was one of the most unbelievable, surreal days of my life. He is now incarcerated, but not for our charges. He's incarcerated on some other charges. So I'm saying this to say that, please, listeners, if you know someone is being a victim of domestic violence or gun violence, please reach out for some help. I've listed some organizations for your counties and the surrounding counties that will assist with criminal domestic violence victims and also gun violence victims. Again, I want to thank you all for listening and giving me a chance to be a voice to help others. Every Thursday, I'm going to release an episode where I will have another true crime victim that comes on to share their story. I look forward for you guys to listen in. And again, thank you guys for just giving me this opportunity to come on this platform and be a voice for others as well as myself, and hopefully put an end to this horrific pandemic that is going on with women being killed by men, gun violence, just everything that we need to address and resolve. So again, if you would like to be on my show, Tea Talk True Crimes, please go over to my Facebook page, A Golden Dream Foundation, or contact me via phone at 803-620-4053. Again, thank you, listeners, for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform.